Titans Talk here on NewsChannel 5 Plus. With Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, I'm Jonathan Hutton. Glad you're with us this evening. We welcome your phone calls to discuss the Titans at 615-737-7767. Let's go to the phones. Panthers winning 27-10 yesterday. David is on deck right now. We start with Seth on line one. Seth, welcome in.
Hey, how are you?
Great, man.
Hey, Rob Ryan was fired not too long ago this evening by New Orleans Saints. Do you think it would be a wise decision if the Titans decided to pursue him in the offseason as the head coach of the Titans? I know he was the defensive coordinator, defensive mind with Dick LeBeau. The Saints ranked towards the bottom of the NFL in defense, but do you think they would make a good partnership together with the Titans if they decide to pursue him? Okay,
Seth, thank you for the call. Well, I'll answer that by simply reading into what we've already heard from Steve Underwood in an interview he did at 104.5 The Zone with 3HL, where he said that they're looking for an offensive mind. They want an offensive-minded coach to lead their rookie quarterback. They feel like they're in a good spot with Dick LeBeau and where this defense is right now. So, Red, it sounds like they're going offense with this new hire, and that would fit also where Mike Mularkey is right now.
It would, and that's the other thing about yesterday's loss. You know, as much as you wanted them to win, and I'm sure that would have helped Mike in his cause to become the permanent head coach. And not that he's lost it at all.
But they're judging him on wins and losses.
Exactly.
They've said that.
He's got a 9-game audition. He's 2 games into it, and every game he wins is in his favor. But to Seth's point there, he, names that you hear, he's close. He's got the wrong side of the ball, but in New Orleans, you keep hearing about Sean Payton. That might be something.
Payton's been linked to the Miami Dolphins,
yes,
who also are in an interim situation right now with Dan Campbell. And Payton's name's been floated out there because it sounds like some back and forth behind the scenes going on in New Orleans with Sean Payton there. Who knows what they do with Drew Brees this coming offseason. He's going to have to restructure a contract if he wants to stay on the current roster based on the salary for him. But Rob Ryan, Seth's right, but fired today as the Saints defensive coordinator, and the Saints defense was terrible. I mean, we saw that firsthand. They gave up yards, and I'm not talking just against the Titans. This was a week in, week out affair.
Absolutely.
Kirk Cousins had a career day yesterday against him in Washington.
Yes, he sure did. They made Kirk Cousins look like, I don't know, John Elway or something.
He threw 4 touchdown passes.
He sure did. Marcus looked pretty good against them a little over a week ago, too.
Let's go to David on line 2. David, thanks for calling. Can I ask you a question first?
Yes.
Because you call in every week, and I appreciate that.
I just want to talk about all this celebration that I've spent with Cam Newton and giving the ball to the little kids. I understand all that, but I think he went a little too far. And all that, I just wanted to know if the league going to do anything about it. And I wanted to know why all the Carolina fans are all around the bottom of the stadium. Why aren't they up in the top somewhere?
David, hey, you call in, and I know you've been critical of this team over the course of the season. Are you seeing better things as a fan over the last 2 weeks with Mularkey as the interim coach?
Yes, I see they're very enthusiastic about it, about the game. I see they're more into the game more. I see more hustle, more play.
All right. Hey, we'll discuss the Cam Newton celebration. The defense was not happy about it. Now, I thought the defense has a right to be upset with Newton celebrating for as long as he did, which we timed it today on midday 180. It was a 9-second celebration before Avery Williamson came over.
Wow.
And they said as much post-game yesterday in the locker room, Rhett. They said, hey, we don't appreciate that, the showboating that was going on, but we understand if we don't want him to do that, we need to keep him out of the end zone.
Sure.
Mularkey was not a fan of that either.
Yeah, you can tell today. Absolutely.
But Cam Newton, is there going to be fined? No, I don't expect that because he does this week in, week out. This should not be a surprise to fans or the Titans. Cam Newton, this is what he does, and this is who he is.
There was no penalty for excessive celebration or he didn't use any props or anything. Like Frank said on the wake-up zone this morning, Frank Wycheck said he didn't have a cell phone hidden in the goalpost padding like Joe Horn and New Orleans
pull
years
out
ago.
The Sharpie.
That's right.
He would do that if you were allowed to.
Oh, I think so in a minute. Absolutely. The thing about this guy, celebration or not, he's so hard to bring down. You were down on the field yesterday. He's one of the largest human beings playing quarterback that I think I've ever seen.
He is a defensive lineman, a defensive end playing quarterback.
Yes.
When you actually see him, he's 6'6". What is he, 240, 235? Is he heavier than that?
I think he plays more like 260.
Okay, well.
He's that big.
I would believe it because you see him in person, and it's one thing to see that on paper where he's 6'6". Okay, so he's a little bit taller than Marcus Mariota.
Sure.
So you can size him up in your mind of where you think he would be, but then you see how broad he is, and you understand just how difficult he would be to bring down, and that's what makes him so impressive. He threw the football very well yesterday, but he runs like he runs like a running back in a linebacker's body. He delivers the hits and the punishment. Much
like Brandon Jacobs, the former New York Giant, who was a little smaller than him, but still 6'4" and 240, 250, large man to bring down. But
as for David brought up the Panthers fans. We've seen that week in and week out over the last couple of seasons at Nissan Stadium. Can they sit up top? Sure, but it's fans that are selling these tickets.
That's correct.
It's not all coming from the Titans ticket office in this resale market. So if Panthers fans want to show up, they're more than welcome to show up and sit where they want to.
Unfortunately, when the team gets into losing streaks like they have, this kind of thing happens. We've seen it over the last couple of seasons, like you said. And it's just one of those things that kind of comes with the territory. And as this team grows and starts to win ball games and people come back and stay, that will start to get thinner and thinner.
615-737-7767, our number. Thanks to Seth and David for calling in. You're welcome to join us. Phone line's open. We'll jump you to the front of the line. 615-737-7767 if you'd like to discuss the Titans with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio. A couple of takeaways from yesterday's game. Let's start with ball protection. From one of the newest captains on this roster, Dexter McCluster. We've seen him fumble the football a handful of times now over the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
That needs to improve.
It absolutely does. Ball protection is a thing that is becoming a problem with this team. And it's not just Dexter McCluster. As much as I really like to see Marcus Mariota play, he's had multiple fumbles in multiple games. And this is something that, unfortunately, you probably can't correct in a very short week, but it's something they need to work on before they get ready to play the Oakland Raiders on the 29th, that Sunday after Thanksgiving, because, these turnovers, the defense did their part. They really kind of held things in check after a couple of early scores and did their best to get after it, but they can't do it all by themselves. And this offense, and you can hear Marcus and those guys talk yesterday in the locker room, they let them down, and they need to do better. Absolutely.
And not trying to pick on Dexter McCluster here, but fumbles are fumbles. He's fumbled on the kickoff return where he shouldn't have even tried to bring it out, and did at New Orleans. They started in terrible field position. He fumbled on a drive before halftime that kept points off the board for them there. And yesterday's fumble, although the game pretty much out of reach whenever he fumbled, I felt like he was just overpowered by the linebacker.
Sure.
I think it was Kuechly on the hit.
I think
I'm
you're
not
right.
100% sure on that, but Dexter is not the biggest guy.
Oh, no, he's 165 pounds soaking wet. Absolutely. And that's the other thing I think that is a takeaway also is the starting field position yesterday. I mean, you take away the place where they got it at the 50 right before the end of the half, and it's worse than what it is, but they averaged just under the 20-yard line on all their beginning drives. I mean, they had drives that started on the 13-yard line, the 12-yard line, 16-yard line.
And it was the reverse. It was the reverse for Carolina.
Yeah.
Ted Ginn Jr. was able to flip the field on a couple of plays because of his return abilities. And then you did not see the very small mistakes, the mental errors that the Titans made, which, I mean, Anthony Fasano, when's the last time we saw him drop a pass?
I can't remember.
We haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Mariota dropping the snap on third down. DGB not running a route to precision. That hurt them. The small things there piled up on the Titans. The Panthers, I'm not even sure if they dropped a pass yesterday that they should have caught.
You may have a point there. And here's the other thing, coupled with all that. It's not like they didn't have opportunities, because when you look at, you had a play where Denard Searcy gets a personal foul penalty on a helmet-to-helmet hit on Ted Ginn Jr. That's a 15-yarder. That gets them in great field position, but ends up Cam Newton on that same drive has a face mask. It backs him up. They only get 3 points out of that. There's something that should have been different. You mentioned DGB on more than one occasion. There's where a drive should have stayed alive with a giant wide receiver like that. He's got to get his head around, and he's got to make sure that he gets that ball, because he's told us numerous times that he's like, oh, I didn't expect the ball to be coming that way. Look, there aren't that many wide receivers on this team. You better elevate your game and get it ready. And I would assume that's what probably Harry Douglas is talking to him about today.
And we'll hear from Mike Mularkey on Dorial Green Beckham and that route running coming up tonight at News Channel 5 at 10 with sports. Let's go to Gordon on line 1. Hey, Gordon.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. First of all, regarding the run game, I have not seen a whole lot out of our run game this year. I don't think we have the guy. Dexter is fast and elusive, but he's 170 pounds, so he's not going to carry the ball 20 times. Antonio is a bull, but, you know, the one long run he had, he looked very slow on it. He kept looking around for blockers, and they weren't there because there was nobody ahead of him, and he just needed to run. I'm hoping David Cobb turns out to be the guy, but we haven't seen him yet. And I think that we need a much better run game, and if it's not going to happen this year, that's got to be a top priority in the draft next year to balance the passing game. The other comment I have, I think it's too soon to know about Mike Mularkey as a head coach. This game, you know, we played an 8-0 team, so you're going to have to cut him a little bit of slack. But what does concern me is that he has a seriously losing record as a head coach with the two teams that he's played with, and so did Ken Wisenhunt. I think that when a team can play well but not finish games, and it happens a lot, you have to look to the mentality of the head coach. You got some coaches in this league like Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter what happens to his team, they win games. Tom Coughlin, who has not only won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, but he took an expansion Jaguars team to the playoffs 5 out of 7 years. Right. He had a winning mentality. I don't know if Mike Mularkey has it. I know that Ken Wisenhunt didn't. So I'm hoping Mike turns his record around with the Titans, but if not, I hope we get somebody really good next year, like, you know, Jim Harbaugh or somebody.
Gordon, thank you. Look, well, I understand records are records, and because of that, Mularkey has said he didn't expect to get a third opportunity as a head coach because of what happened in Jacksonville in the 1 year he was there. Just 2 wins and a very, by the way, the depth on that roster was absolutely horrific. He didn't expect this opportunity. He's trying to make the most of it. Mm-hmm. If you look at the situations he's been in, just to play devil's advocate with Gordon, look at the quarterbacks he had in Buffalo. Look at the quarterback. He had a rookie quarterback, I believe it was Gabbert, in Jacksonville.
Oh, in Buffalo, it was J.P. Losman.
J.P. Losman after Drew Bledsoe. So Drew Bledsoe was there, then it went to J.P. Losman. The difference here could be Marcus Mariota for him. And I think that the offense right now is built to fit Mike Mularkey's style. Tight end heavy, run centric, and they have a core of running backs that they can rely on. He wants to run the football more than Ken Wisenhunt did. That's obvious through 2 games. And I think that fits right now what is best for the Titans. Because going into the season, Rhett, I said if the Titans were going to have an identity, it was going to be behind a veteran defense. They were going to get after the passer. They were going to be known for that, and they would be known for establishing the run behind a couple of different backs.
Sure.
We didn't see that early on offensively, and that hurt them.
Well, and Gordon, here's the thing. You have a midseason change in head coaching, and obviously Ken Wisenhunt was pass heavy, as you just mentioned. And we've only had 2 games to examine what Mike Mularkey can do, and that's in about 12, 13 days. You can't work miracles in that short a period of time. And I know that he mentioned Bill Belichick, and that is an anomaly to itself. I mean, those guys, it's unbelievable how they continue to win. yesterday was an example of what he was talking about with the run game. Only 40 yards gained by the running backs. Antonio Andrews, 11 carries, 8 yards. But he, in the week before, 18 carries, 88 yards. And he's going to give those backs some time to establish it. You got to get in a rhythm. Yesterday, the yards were hard to come by. And I think that partially is credit to the Carolina Panthers. But I still want to see more of Antonio Andrews. But I think, like he is calling about, I think a lot of folks are anxious to see what David Cobb can do. And there's a reason they took him where they took him.
We'll find out. We'll discuss if David Cobb plays this Thursday and the expectations for him down the stretch of this season as he jumps into that mix of the rotation at running back. Phone lines are open, 615-737-7767. This is Titans Talk on News Channel 5+.